Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this session, since everybody is pretty much talking about the price of this cabinet, I wanted to talk about the games instead. Seems to be overlooked by many of the YouTubers, just talking about whether this is worth the extra $100 or not, whether it is or isn't, whether you want to buy this, whether you already have a Street Fighter. Let's put that to the side. Let's just check out the games. As you can see from the Arcade1up site, the games that are included are Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition, Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, which is an excellent little game, Dark Stalkers, we had that on the Street Fighter Legacy, Night Warriors, Dark Stalkers Revenge, essentially Dark Stalkers 2, Dark Stalkers 3, Saturday Night Slam Masters, that's a pretty cool game too, and Knights of the Round we featured previously in our kind of top 20 beat 'em ups. Echo Fighters, nice little shoot 'em up. Capcom Sports Club is a fun game, particularly the tennis on there is quite cool. And a Muscle Bomber Duo, which is essentially an upgraded version of Saturday Night Slam Masters that has 2 players per team. With that said, let's check out the games. So as you can see, all of the games we're going to be showing are running on a modified Mortal Kombat 2 system. This is running a Pi 4 and RetroPie. So all the games, the ROMs, I'll try and select the ROM that's closest to the game, I think will be on Big Blue, but just keep in mind the ROM version might be slightly different. Should at least give you an idea of how the game plays. Okay, so first up we have Street Fighter 2 Championship Edition. This was released in 1992 and designed by Akira Yasuda and Akira Nishitani. Let's take a look at it. And of course this is the game that the cabinet art is going to be themed by, so probably the one you're going to leave on running on tracked mode in your arcade.
Round 1, fight!
Next up we have Street Fighter 2 Turbo or Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting, also released in 1992 and by the same designers.
Round 1, fight!
Next up we have my favourite version of Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, released in 1994 with new designers Noritaka Funamizu and Haro Murata. Very nice to see this one included on this cabinet. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, great fun little game, released in 1996 in the arcade and various home platforms after that. This one designed by Naoto Ota and Katsuhiro Eguchi. Next up we have Saturday Night Slam Masters. This was released in 1993, artist Tetsu Hara and composed by Masaki Izutani. This is a fantastic little game and it really made me think, why did we waste, what was it, $30 on Retromania Wrestling on the Nintendo Switch when we had this over here. Great game, let's take a look. Alright, next up, nice little sideways scrolling beat 'em up, Knights of the Round. This was released in 1991, composed by Isao Abe. Capcom are famous for a ton of awesome sideways scrolling beat 'em ups. This definitely somewhere in the top 20, I don't know, maybe top 10 even. Great game, let's take a look. Alright, so quickly moving on here. I was in danger of playing that far too long. I'll wait till the cabinet comes to play that through. Next up, a game I haven't played before, Echo Fighters. This was released in March 1994 in the arcade on the CPS2 arcade system. It's a horizontal shooter. This game was developed by the same people who developed a couple of Mega Man arcade titles, Power Battle and Power Fighters. Let's check it out. And apologies for the colour contrast on the video here. I've got the iPhone recording in daylight. I normally film these at night, but given the long weekend and doing some daytime filming, and I realise it looks a little bit washed out. It's not. It's obviously going to be like this on the Arcade1up cabinet. Okay, so next up we have another game that I surprisingly hadn't played before, Capcom Sports Club. This wasn't released until 1997. It's a multi-sport game consisting of Smash Stars, which is tennis, Dunk Stars, which is basketball, and Kick Stars, which is football, or as you Americans call it, soccer. Let's take a look. Like I say, hadn't played this before, so definitely interested to give it a go. Definitely like the tennis best out of the three games on here, and going to be giving this some serious game time, I think. Okay, so last game before we get into the Dark Stalkers trio is Muscle Bomber Duo, better known as the kind of sequel to Saturday Night Slam Masters. So this is an updated release of Saturday Night Slam Masters. It's a Japanese-only update. I don't think this was over in the US, or maybe you could have seen it in some arcades. This is 4-player. Would have been cool if Arcade1up had put this onto a 4-player cab, but obviously the release they're going to have on the upcoming Big Blue is only going to be a 2-player version. So let's take a look. Okay people, so this is where the preview goes a little bit off track, and in full transparency, my understanding of the Darkstalkers series and what the different games are called is a little bit limited. But from kind of research that I quickly did on Google, Wikipedia here, Darkstalkers Night Warriors is obviously the first game in the series. It was called Vampire the Night Warrior in Japan, so depending on which version of the ROM you have, there's going to be a different title there. I'm assuming that the initial game in the series, Darkstalkers Night Warriors, is the game that is going to be on the big blue cabinet. Next, the second game in the series is Night Warriors Darkstalkers Revenge. So again, this is stated actually on the 1UP page as Darkstalkers Revenge, so it would seem that 1 and 2 would be these titles. But then the third title, what Arcade1up is referring to as Darkstalkers 3, is where I get confused. So the third game in the series wasn't called Darkstalkers 3, it was called Vampire Savior, World of Darkness, the arcade version in the West, and Vampire Savior, the Lord of Vampire, on the Japanese version of the ROM. So I'm going to show you these 3 games in this preview, but I'd be interested to know if any of you are Darkstalkers experts out there, what is Darkstalkers 3? It was never released in the arcade. It was only released on the PlayStation. So please drop a comment, educate me. But let's take a look at the games anyway. Okay, so first up, Darkstalkers the Night Warriors. I'm using the Japanese ROM here. It's called Vampire the Night Warrior, and this is the first game in the series. This version, this ROM here, is slightly different to the version that's on the Street Fighter 2 Legacy cabinet, so I'd imagine it's that same version that's going to be on Big Blue. And since we do have the Arcade1up Street Fighter 2 Legacy cabinet, I thought we might as well just check out the Darkstalkers version on there and see how it differs to the Japanese ROM that I showed. Clearly, slightly different attract mode, but other than that, it essentially is the same game. Alright, so thank you very much for watching this preview. I hope you enjoyed and found it informative. Like I say, I don't know exactly which versions of the ROMs Arcade1up are going to include. You know, some of the games are 3-player, some of the games are 4-player. You know, things like The Simpsons, for example, there's 2 different ROM versions. There's a 2-player, there's a 4-player version. So, you know, finer details to be seen. Obviously, we have this on pre-order. We'll be doing a full review when we do get the cabinet. I think the other thing that's also going to be interesting, it comes with Wi-Fi, and apparently Street Fighter is going to be available to play online. I don't know exactly which of these games listed are going to be online playable. It doesn't say on here, so be interested to see. I expect at least Street Fighter will be available to play online. So, you know, that said, I know a lot of people have been talking about, is it worth it? You can reserve it on the Arcade1up website. It's going to give you another $75 shipping fee. I'd recommend, if you do buy it, get it from GameStop, which is where I ordered it from. You can pre-order, use a credit card. It doesn't charge you until it ships. It's also available on Best Buy, or rather was available on Best Buy. It seems to have flipped back to coming soon now, so I don't know if they sold out. Maybe they've run through their initial allocation. But at the time of recording this, at least, it's still available on GameStop, free shipping, and it's not going to charge you until it ships. But that said, it's gone up $100 if you compare it to the Marvel vs. Capcom package with the stool, for example. Essentially that has everything just the same in terms of the Wi-Fi, in terms of the lit marquee. You know, so it's gone up $99. I think in the time we're in, where everything is going up in price, I think it's not too much of an increase for us, at least. We'll be looking forwards to getting this, and like I said, look forward to the full review. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you want to get a notification for that. If you have any comments, if you disagree with the versions that are going to be included, I'd love to hear from you, particularly around the Dark Stalkers series. So confusing for me. But anyway, happy gaming, and we'll see you on the next one.